Welcome to the Aesthetic Doctor Podcast. We don't shy away and keep secrets here. We empower you with education, telling you the truth about all things aesthetic medicine while encouraging you to be the best version of yourself. It's time to look great and feel good doing it. This is your host, mom, speaker, and board-certified physician, Dr. Judith Borger.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Borger, and today I really want you to thrive during the holidays. So, we all know that the holidays can be some of the most emotionally charged times of the year. And that they can bring out big feelings. So many people talk about the stress of the preparation, the stress of the actual time, family dynamics, unmet expectations, disappointment, grief, and so on and so forth. And the first thing that I really want to do is just simply to hold space for each and every feeling that might come up during the holidays because we're all in very different situations. Some of us might be in what I call the meat of life, right? Where we're trying to balance work obligation and relationship obligation with our spouses, expectations of our children, and want to make their Christmas magical. Maybe because of something we had or didn't have. At the same time, we might balance family dynamics, parental dynamics, extended family dynamics. But then other people might suddenly feel different because they might have gotten through a divorce or death in the last year, and now they're grieving the way it was and it no longer is. People might be incredibly triggered during the holidays because of past trauma, past abuse from family members, and now all these family dynamics cramming back in. There is so many nuances on why the holidays can be hard. And then, of course, there's also the people that are working, people that have spouses that are working, financial pressures around the holidays. There is, at least in Western culture and in the US, a big commercial aspect. So I know that the holidays also put a lot of financial pressure on people. The first thing that I want to do is really hold space and acknowledge all the feelings that might be coming up around the holidays. And so I just want to address some of them. And I think there's a couple of things that I can absolutely think of that make the holidays more stressful. And the first thing is really expectation versus reality gap. And we have talked about this in my episode about the gap versus the gain, right? That we're comparing the holiday that we have to maybe Hallmark movies, to the way we think things should be. And sometimes we might be comparing it to the way things were, right? I think it's really important to see those expectations for what they are manifest, but I really want you to think about where do these expectations come from, right? Whose voice is it that says Christmas should be this way? Is it because society has taught us that? Is it because you're trying to keep up with somebody else's Instagram page where suddenly their house is already beautifully decked out and their Christmas table looks like Williams Sonoma? Or is it because you so long for it that you never had it, that it's something you've really always wanted, right? And so I think the first thing that I would recommend people do is just be really honest with themselves. As in, what expectations do I have? Where do they come from? And why do I have these expectations? And then maybe gently remind yourself of what is the reality of your life right now, right? Is the reality that you have to work Christmas Eve because you're in healthcare? Is the reality that your kids are grown and your son is choosing to spend Christmas with his girlfriend and their parents? Is the reality that your brother-in-law is a drunk asshole? And oops, I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, let's bleep that out. But is the reality that your brother is a drunk, and we know that either we have to make this choice to exclude him from Christmas, or we totally know that by 9 o'clock, he's going to be like picking a fight with everybody and using racist slurs, right? There is these certain, or is the reality that somebody lost their job and we have to be really mindful of gift giving this year, or that we maybe can't afford to travel, or what is the reality? And how can we look at that with compassion and not from a place of despair or woe is me, but really from a place of empowerment, like where I'm starting, how can I create the best Christmas, the best holidays, the best Hanukkah, the best, when I say Christmas or holidays, I again apologize. It's not meant to be exclusionary, but how can I have that best experience from myself if I'm alone? What are my choices on Christmas? Can I go on a retreat? Can I spend it with friends? Can I volunteer? Can I, yes, it's going to be sad, but what can I do from where I'm at to make my situation a little bit better? The second thing that really comes up for me when I talk about or when I think about big holiday feelings and holiday stress, it's sometimes trauma responses. Most of us have some degree of trauma. A lot of patients and clients that I work with, including myself, might have quite a big trauma history, and nothing triggers trauma more, I think, than holidays and sometimes having to be surrounded by people, getting reminders of people, again, having those times when everything happened and there's this forced togetherness when there's still unresolved trauma and conflict. And, first of all, again, my heart goes out to you. And I would really recommend everybody to do trauma informed therapy, I have a great episode on trauma, or to do some sort of other healing. Reach out, be open, and seek all the support you need. The third big category that I think about when having you thrive through the holidays is really the idea of setting boundaries. And this is where you really want to be clear on what are your goals for the holidays, what would make you happy in a realistic way. Again, assume that everybody else is going to be everybody else, right? So your overbearing mother-in-law is gonna be her overbearing mother-in-law. Your sister with the not well-behaved kids is still gonna be your sister with the not well-behaved kids, right? Your husband who really does not love XYZ is still not gonna love XYZ. When you think about what you want for expectations, you cannot change everybody else. So just assume everybody else is gonna be everybody else. What I'm saying there is it's not a realistic expectation to suddenly expect people to get along that have never gotten along, to have people be great gift givers that were never great gift givers, but really think about what are the boundaries that you want to set for yourself. And sometimes that includes the boundaries for your children, for your relationship, but mostly for you, right? So if that means, listen, I'm not going to go to 4 different houses this Christmas and schlep my kids around, that means we're maybe finding an alternative situation. If you are not willing to spend X much of money on 23 gifts, maybe say, hey, let's do a Secret Santa this year, or be very clear on that. If you are not wanting everybody to come to your house, if you are wanting to get a special gift from your husband, who is not great at gift giving, and I'm substituting husband in the heteronormative way. It could be anything, right? Say, give them like strong enough hints. Hey, you know what I would really love to do this Christmas? What if we, whatever? Hey, you know what? I have been going shopping and I've been seeing these things, and wow, that would be really amazing. Leave the browser open, send him a reminder. Because in a way, that's how you get what you get too, right? By being very clear on your boundaries. And I mean that in a good or a bad way, right? You don't want to spend 3 days around the holidays, just cooking and cleaning up, make sure to make that known because guess what? For everybody else, it works that you're cooking and cleaning up. Big three things that I'm thinking about is really this expectation versus reality gap, trauma and unprocessed trauma, and then boundaries. Some of the strategies that I would want to offer you are, like I always said, first step is always awareness. And some of the great ways to do awareness is really to actually just ask yourself. Most of us just go through our lives and things happen to us, and the holidays are upon us, but we're not stopping and actually asking ourselves, what about the holidays is making me feel anxious? What about the holidays is making me feel worried? What about the holidays is making me feel afraid? And if you're able to sit down and reflect, sometimes it's really great to just quietly walk and reflect. Something about the meditation of the walking, the movements, the yoga, but it has to be quiet, right? You can't be dopamine hits on your phone. Sometimes it's really just a be quiet, listen, or be quiet and walk and just have that time to think. If that seems crazy to you, the other thing that really happens at work sometimes is to write therapeutic letters, to write a therapeutic letter to yourself from whatever it is that you're feeling, worry, anxiety, fear. And the way I write that is to really, again, be quiet, take some deep breaths, and then be like, Dear Jude, I am your fear. I am afraid that my kids are going to be disappointed this Christmas. I'm afraid that, I don't know, whatever else happens, right? I'm afraid that, and just keep writing and writing. I am your fear, and I'm afraid that. And at the same time, when you're crystal clear about your goals, you can do that same thing from where you are now. Again, if it's now November 19th and you don't have Thanksgiving off and you have nobody to travel with and you don't have a partner, it might be unrealistic to think you're going to meet the person of your dreams and be in an overwater bungalow with them in 4 days. However, you can set a goal that includes being in a community activity, connecting with a friend. Maybe you even host Friendsgiving, being surrounded by people. So, again, be very crystal clear on your goals. And so many times when I set goals, like it's really just meant quiet and happiness and peace because we all deserve to live in peace. So, I'm thinking about happiness and peace for my little family. And again, sometimes if you want to experience joy, if you want to experience love, if you want to experience enchantment, write yourself a letter from enchantment or joy. Dear Jude, I'm joy. I love it when we all sing together. I love it when we wear our silly matching pajamas because my kids will still do that with me. I love it when I get to wake up early and have coffee and just look out over the lake. I love it when we go on walks. I love being in nature. I love being alone. And write that letter from joy and see what joy or enchantment or whatever feeling you want to see and feel wants you to do and do more of that. And then the other thing I want to remind you is that you are powerful and you are resourceful and you have tools. So, I, even with my clients, my patients, I don't ever want them to be wholly dependent on me for their happiness, for their healing, for their other things. So you always have tools, you have other resources, you have people you can reach out to, you have therapists, you have counselors, you have all of these things. So, and then you always have the safety of your body, the temple of your body. And most of the time, when we're in states of anxiety, fear, and I have experienced intense PTSD. I was recently triggered by something, and it was just all, and it all feels like up there. It's amazing how much true grounding can do. Yes, your nervous system doesn't want to do it, but how these tools to regulate down your nervous system actually work for a reason, right? You can ground, you can breathe, you can do yoga, you can go out in nature, you can scream or sing or draw. And sometimes it's scribbling, sometimes it's going for a run. You can pray. Whatever your version of grounding is and coming back in your body, a lot of these tools are so effective. And I want to remind you that you are powerful, you are resourceful, and you're strong. Of course, that includes using your support network. If you have professional help, if you need professional help, of course, as somebody who's been suicidal before, I've definitely sought professional help. I've used psychiatrists, therapists. There is, of course, National Suicide Hotline you can Google and lots of great resources, but you yourself are incredibly resourceful. And I don't want you to ever forget your own power. The other thing is that there's always healing to be done. There's always growth to be done. And we're always like the best version that we can be right now. And as evolution goes on, we can heal more, we can expand more, we can come back to our truest self with every step in time. So no matter what happened yesterday, tomorrow is a new day, and I work with incredible women and men that are interested in healing and growing, and that is always an option. I have done a lot of heart healing lately. It is one of my favorite modalities because it really heals that subconscious. Those things that, as we talk about them, you might not even be aware of. And I always think of it as the iceberg analogy. We have that top of the iceberg, which is the things we're consciously aware of that coaching works on. And then we have the bottom of the iceberg that's below the water that, we're consciously not aware of. And that is the subconscious that we can heal. So you can have holidays that are in alignment. You can have holidays that are beyond incredible. And so these are really some of my tips and strategies to not only surviving at the holidays, but really like thriving during the holidays. Remember, you are your greatest ally. You've got this. You deserve joy. You deserve love. You deserve a magnificent time now and always. This is all that I have for you. And with love, until next time, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Aesthetic Doctor podcast with Dr. Judith Borger. We'd love to connect with you outside of the show. Follow Dr. Borger on Instagram at Dr. Borger and find more online and ways to work with Dr. Borger at www.theaestheticdoctor.com. Until next time, be well.